Good evening and welcome to Tuesday at Two Lines. I'm your host, Marty Ford. That was a weird introduction. I never do it that way. But anyway, hope you're having a great Tuesday. I had a great day at work today. We've got a conference that I'm prepping for tomorrow. I'm pretty excited about. It's online. And so prepping for tomorrow to be out of the office usually makes for a busy day today, but got some employee reviews done and got some good work done. So I'm pretty happy with that. So good Tuesday. I got a walk in before we went live. So I've already got my steps in and, just a typical Tuesday. Let's take a look and see who all is in the chat. Looks like the chat's nice and busy with Elvis, Slot Ripper, sorry. Elvis. Yeah. Well, Elvis is one of my vocal heroes. So my grandparents loved Elvis. And so because of that, I grew up listening to a lot of Elvis. Hey, Andy, what's up? Jay Johnson is in the house. Hey, Mike, Big Oak, what's up, fellow slot nerds? We got a bunch of people in already. Gosh, we're 30 seconds in and we've got 50 people. If you saw the graphic, I'm pretty excited about Steve from Slot Car Corner. Steve Sawtelle is coming on. He's in the green room waiting, so we'll bring him on in a second after I do some shout outs. Hey, Chris, got the Ohio Chris's are here in full force. Jerry, Get Right is in the house. Greg from Florida. Hopefully your weather is a little better than ours, Greg. Look at that. Chris says this should be a really good show with Marty having Steve on. I'm pretty excited about it. Steve and I had a call last night to kind of prep to make sure that his equipment was working right and all the things that he wanted to do. And so I'm excited about having a conversation and sharing that conversation with you guys. So, hey, Rob, how's it going? Jerry, Charles, good evening. But yeah, hey, Daryl. Daryl, you would not believe it, but I actually have a Thursday evening off this week. But I don't think I have digital cars to run at Cincy Slots. So, but since I haven't been down, I'm going to try to see if I can't sneak down to Cincinnati maybe and just come hang out with you guys. Hey, Gary. We'll see. Hey, Edward. What's up? Ernest is in the house. That means Colt's watching too. Hey, Colt. Hope you're doing well. Hey, Hank. Hank sent me a T-shirt and some stickers months and months ago, probably about a year ago, and I wore that shirt the other day. I must have been on Sunday, and my wife said, "Hey, that's a cool looking logo." So Hank, you got props from my wife, and that's saying something because she makes zero comments about my slot car stuff. So we got a good crowd. I'll keep doing shouts out, but I don't want to hesitate anymore. I want to bring Steve on. We all know Steve because most of us at some point in time over the last few years have ordered parts or cars or something from Slot Car Corner. And I met Steve at the Eastern Championships last year, not 2025, but in 2024. And I was sitting in the pit and working on a car and chatting with the guys, and Steve came over and introduced himself. We sat down and had an awesome conversation, and we've had a handful of conversations since then. And Steve reached out to me and said, "Hey, if you're going to do the live stream again, it might be fun to join you as a co-host," because I had put a shout out. I'm like, "Is anybody interested in helping me with that live stream?" And Steve was the first person to reach out to me. And I said, "Yeah, that would be awesome." And man, what a hit that was. The feedback that I've received about the Eastern Championships live stream this in 2025 back in November was great. And Steve was awesome. Lots of guys were like, "You need to bring him back on." And so that started a conversation about a month ago where Steve said, "Hey, would it be cool to partner with Two Lines and Slot Car Corner for your live streams and your content and everything you've got going on. And it took me about 2 seconds to answer that question. So let's bring Steve on. We'll get some background on how Slot Car Corner got started and how he got started in the hobby. And we'll see where it goes. So, guys, if you have questions in the chat, make sure you put a Q in front of it so it stands out for me. And we'll get those questions answered. And it doesn't matter what it is, but maybe you have questions for Steve that you've always wanted to ask. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Steve on. Steve, welcome to Tuesday at Two Lines.
Thank you very much, Marty, and thank you to the Two Lines community for the opportunity to join you this evening.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. We've had some great conversations over the last few months. A lot of them around the live stream for the races, or for that particular race, the Eastern Nationals. And Ian was coming over from overseas, from England or from the UK, and we were excited about getting a chance to meet him in person finally. And with the three of us covering, with me doing a little bit of racing, man, the feedback was great. Like, people loved your conversation with Ian and your conversation with me. And when we would interview people, they thought you were very thoughtful and very just so knowledgeable about the slot car hobby. So how did you become so knowledgeable about the slot car hobby? When did your journey start? And tell me how you got into it.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for that opportunity to work with you and Ian at the NSR event. I had a blast.
Oh man, it was so much fun.
It was so much fun. It was a long day. I think we actually the stream stopped at some point because we exceeded some limit or something on YouTube.
Yeah.
I didn't get back to the hotel until like 1:30 in the morning, but I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. It was great. And Ian is a character, so
he is quite a character. Yeah, he kept us organized and like really knew what to do.
Yeah.
But between the two of us, we knew how to talk, so that was, we had that part covered. But Ian, his experience really helped us, and it'll pay off in the next one we do, because we are going to do this again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I hope we can get Ian back over again for one of these, one of these podcasts too. Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah. So as far as to answer your question, how did I get started in slot cars, and how did Slot Car Corner come to be? I started racing HO slot cars when I was probably 8 or 10 years old. I think a lot of us probably did. At the time, I remember I had a Strombecker, 1/32 set, a figure 8 set that I'd gotten for Christmas there, type thing. But for the most part, I'm not sure where my parents got that set, to be honest with you. I mean, everything was HO at the time, with the loop-de-loops and go up the wall and around the ceiling and, all kinds of crazy layouts. So that's what me and my friends, we gravitated toward, just because it was readily available. And we probably raced until, I don't know, 8th grade, something like that. And went into high school and, discovered girls, cars.
Right.
Yeah, went in the service, got married, had family, all that sort of thing. And then as the kids get older, you have more time, to do things. Actually, when the kids, I have twins. So around 2004, 2005 timeframe, decided to set up a small HO track in the basement, something to do with the kids, a project, setting up the track and obviously racing the cars. And they had a good time, but, we decided that maybe we would try 1/32 racing. We would it was a Scalextric set. So that started on a single 4x8 table, and within probably 3 or 4 months, that grew to a 4-lane layout that was 32 feet long and 16 feet wide, and about 160 feet running length. So
that's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, went in, hook, line, and sinker. The kids were loving it. It was mostly just me and my brother-in-law that were racing at the time. basement racing, and we didn't really know any other slot car racers,
Right.
certainly not where I live. So we did a little research. We found a couple of clubs. We found a club. I live in Connecticut. We found a club that out of Southern Connecticut, Shoreline Model Raceways. Found another club up in New Hampshire, which was the host racers. Both clubs are still very active today, by the way. And they got together a couple of times a year, and they would go back and forth between each other's tracks. And they had like a little informal championship, a New England championship race kind of thing. So we reached out to them and said, "Hey, look, how about if we host the race? And it's a neutral track. You guys, nobody has an advantage. Nobody's ever seen this track. Nobody's ever raced on it." And they accepted the invitation. And when I told my wife about it, she goes, "Well, do you know any of these guys?" And I said, "No." And she goes, "Well, where did you meet them?" I said, "Well, on the internet." And she goes, "Well, how do you know they're not axe murderers?" Right away, we go right to axe murderers, right?
Right.
So we kind of joke about that. That comes up.
That's funny.
A couple times a year. The axe murderers, right? And she's actually become very good friends with most of these guys over the years. But anyway, we hosted that first race, got to know a lot of these racers, and that's really where I started, club racing. Started racing mostly with the Shoreline Club down in Southern Connecticut. And somewhere along the line, when I was building this monstrosity of a Skeletrix track, I decided to hardwire the track to get rid of the stock wall warts and all that stuff. And I made up my own driver stations. But at the time, it really wasn't a source for driver stations. You kind of had to fabricate them yourself. So I went over to Home Depot and I bought some electrical boxes, big gray electrical boxes. I took the cover off, threw away the rest of the box, drilled it out to the configuration that I wanted, and I painted them different lane colors, and
Nice.
made up my driver stations. And I actually did an article, a how-to article on Slot Car Illustrated about that. And through the article and the racers throughout New England stuff, people started reaching out to me and asking me, "Hey, would you make me a set of these driver stations?" So that's really how Slot Car Corner started, believe it or not.
Wow.
2006, we formed a limited liability company. My partner at the time was Dickie Pearson. Dickie's sometimes on the stream here. We're still good friends. And we set up shop in Pennacook, New Hampshire, which is just north of Concord. Had a small track and some local racers, and Slot Car Corner just continued to grow. Initially with those track wiring products, track wiring kits. Then gradually we started carrying different brands of cars and expanded our own line of products, our Slot Car Corner products, CB Design wheels. A couple of years later, and then that expanded, into different styles and sizes and so on. We continued on at our Pennacook location until around 2012, 2013 timeframe. Dickie left Slot Car Corner for another opportunity, and about that time, Bob Bianchi, who's a good friend, had also met through Slot Car Racing. He became my partner, my business partner, and since then, again, we've just continued to grow and grow and grow. And if anybody told me 2026 marks our 20th year in business, if anybody told me that I'd be doing this for 20 years, I'd tell them, they were crazy. And then if anybody told me, we'd have thousands and thousands of customers and thousands of products, and it's been unbelievable. So, and a lot of it's, customers. We have the best customers, and again, worldwide. We've grown to know, a lot of you that are on the stream over the years. We haven't necessarily met face to face, although in many cases we have, type thing. And I think that's one of the most rewarding things about the business is the friendships that you meet. Either working with our customers or going to these race events. Like, for example, Marty, our paths wouldn't have crossed in 10,000 lifetimes if it wasn't for slot cars. So there's an example. So in 25,000 words or less, that's kind of how, Slot Car Corner came into being. And, hopefully we'll be here for another 20 years.
That's fantastic that it started with driver stations. I've got
fire
some
station.
I've got some guys saying that there's a little bit of echo on your end. You don't have a window open, do you, with the audio?
Uh,
YouTube?
is that better?
Um, well, it'll take a second to see. Um, yeah, we'll just keep going, but that
Okay.
they'll let me know.
Okay.
They always do. Um, so yeah,
Sorry.
it started
Sorry
with
about that.
oh, that's right. So it started with driver stations and
Mhm.
then expanded out. And you said you have thousands of products now. And how many of those products are like your own products that you produce? I mean, would you say, do you make, you know, 5-10% of the stuff that you sell? Do you, I mean, because you've kind of branched out in lots of things. You've got the track, all the track stuff that you can get um, to help people wire their tracks. You've got, I mean, you do
Right.
tires, right? I mean, quick
New
slicks, and
tires.
then yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
I would say, conservatively, 10% of the products that we offer are probably, either Slackhawk Corner brand or one of the brands that we market, like
yeah,
CV Design or Quick Slicks, that's that sort of thing.
yeah, that's impressive. So how did you I guess wh- what is your background, and did that help you develop like your web, because you have a great website. It's easy to search for products. Um, did your previous life help you put together, because I think when you think about like websites that like Amazon took off, all they did was sell books, but they created this, awesome website that was super easy to navigate and buy from, right? And I
Mhm.
feel like there are a handful of retailers out there online that have really good websites, and then there are other retailers that I love them, but their website is a little bit of struggle to find stuff on. I think that's one thing that you guys have kind of nailed. You make it very easy for people to find the parts they need, and then you've invested a lot of time and information out there. So like there are comments when you look at products and how they relate, and like the 3A 3D stuff. Here's all the things that you need, home racing world proxy. Here are all the things and links. That takes a lot of time to do. So you've invested a ton of time on the website side. Was that always the case? I mean, or did
Yeah, so prior to Slackhawk Corner, I had no website developing capability, anything like that. I had never done anything with a website, to be honest with you. I was in information technology for about almost 40 years. I did start out as a software programmer and stuff, but that was, I'm really going to date myself. That was with COBOL, and that's nothing like anything you do on a website. So,
mm-mm, no?
yeah, so it was really out of necessity. We at the time Slackhawk Corner Canada, um, was also in business there with Christian up in Quebec City, and Christian was much more savvy when it came to the website and e-commerce and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So he'd actually gone out and explored some different options and stuff, and had shared some of that with us. So our initial website it was a completely different platform than what we're using now. And one of the lessons learned, if anybody's thinking about going out there and developing a website, is make sure you know make sure that it's going to work across all the platforms that your customers are going to use. So we didn't realize the first platform that we put up, it was great if you were on a PC or a Mac or something, but on a tablet or a phone, it was terrible.
yeah,
And we never realized the percentage of our customers that use their phones to actually place orders and interact with the website. So the platform that we're on now, which is Shopify, by the way, the Shopify platform is much, much more robust in that respect, and it makes it very, very easy. When you design your website, it's going to work regardless of the platform that your customer or somebody that's visiting is using.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, and it does take a lot of time. To your point, like for example, when we were working, and we continue to work with 3A 3D, whenever they come out with a new kit, they give us a list. George, Harry, Dave, they give us a list of, hey, for this particular kit, here's the wheels, here's the tires, the axles, bushings, the whole 9 yards, so that we can provide those links. Because when somebody buys a kit, some people, if you're an experienced builder, if you've scratch built these cars, built these kits, many times, then maybe it's not such a big deal. You kind of know from experience what products that you need, what products work,
Right.
for a given kit. But if you're a first time, this is my first time I'm putting my toe in the water, building one of these kits, it can be a pretty daunting task. You can end up spending a lot of time. You can, order the wrong products, waste money. So we try to make it as easy as possible to, when it comes to something like that, a kit, in particular, to make sure that we have the links there to make it easier for people to find, the right products, the first time and not have to go, treasure hunt to find the combination of products that's going to work.
Yeah, it's I think that's key. A lot of times, most people don't have endless budgets for their hobby, right? And they're trying to make smart decisions with their money. I know that's what I do. I research a crazy amount before I spend money on anything, and like it's so good to have all that information out there, um, and ordering things so that you don't have a bunch of excess parts that will never get used because you ordered the wrong thing. I think that's important. Um, and the other piece to that is not only is there a lot of information on your website. When the day we were talking at the Eastern Championships, the first time, you got a phone call while we were talking with a customer, and you helped them solve an issue and answered a question for something they were trying to order. And I thought that was fantastic customer service. And then there were a couple times that happened, during the Eastern Championships this past year. I think your customer service between you and Bob, and like you place an order, and all of a sudden I've got my tracking information, and he does a great job of putting those boxes together and sending product out. How important is customer service in a world right now where we live, that you can order something on Amazon and get it almost the same day, depending on where you live?
Mhm.
I mean, it's super important, but like from your standpoint, how important is that to you and your business?
I would say it's probably the most important thing because, quite frankly, if you don't have customers, you don't have a business. You don't certainly don't have a slot car business,
Right.
or not for very long. So, you mentioned Bob. Bob does an amazing job. Uh, turning around processing these orders, packaging everything up. So just so everybody knows, we're not Amazon.com.
Nah.
It's Steve and Bob, two full-time employees, and we have 5 part-time employees at the present time, and probably bring on a couple more here in 2026. Bob does most of the order processing, right? And it can be a pretty daunting task. So generally, unlike other businesses where maybe you process the orders during your normal business hours, whatever that means.
Right.
Bob tends to process the orders, from 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night till 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, right?
Right.
Gets them out. The pickups we have are very early in the morning. So both the post office and UPS tend to pick up, early. So we want to make sure that we get as many orders processed as we possibly can before those pickups.
Yeah.
So it's important. It's very, very important. To customer service is very, very important. We're not perfect, right? We drop the ball, and we make mistakes. But when we make mistakes, one of the things that we found is customers might be upset, that they didn't get the right part, or maybe they had hoped that something would ship a little quicker than it did, or something like that. Anybody can claim that they have world-class service, not just for slot cars, but just in general, right? But I think where you really see the difference between, just a run-of-the-mill business and an exceptional business, one of the hallmarks of the exceptional business is how they deal with those exceptions, right? What
Right.
happens when you drop the ball? What happens when you make a mistake, or you ship the wrong thing, or you forget to ship something? Pick up the phone, you talk to the customer, you apologize sincerely, about the mix-up, and then you do whatever you have to do to make it right. So that's kind of our mindset. Is customer service is very, very important. We try to return phone calls. We try to answer emails. We try to anticipate questions. And we have a whole section on the website with some resources and stuff, based on our experience, the types of questions that we get. So we try to share that and make it available so that maybe you don't have to call us. I mean, you certainly can. If you have a question, you can always call us, but we try to make it easy for you.
Yeah, well, that's, I think that's all you can do, right? I work in a service industry. I work for a bank, and I'm in the marketing department, but I am actually the only person in the marketing department. I'm a department of one, but then I oversee our online banking, all of our electronic banking products. And so the phone rings a lot. There are lots of people who have lots of questions. And if we're not there to answer them, then, that's a problem. And there are times, like, I'll do this out. Christmas Eve, we closed at noon, and I had a Christmas party at my dad's immediately after that, and I ran out of the office. I got over to my dad's, and my phone rang, and it was one of our senior VPs. He's like, "Hey, I have a customer that tried to pay Christmas bonuses today, and it didn't work. And can you take a look at it?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not in the office, but I'm 5 minutes away from the office." So I ran back up, took care of them, and went back to the party. And that's like, not every bank, every institution is going to do that, right? But that's what we hang our hat on at Kingston National Bank. It's a small community bank. We can do that. We have almost 100 employees, 6 branch locations, and our motto is hometown service. And if we didn't do things like that, we wouldn't be able to compete. But because we do, we compete locally very well against all the regional banks. And there's a lot of places you can go to buy slot car stuff now. And so if you don't provide that kind of customer service, if you don't help people out, help them spend their dollars wisely, then I think you're doing a disservice. And so thank you for what you do. And we know that you're not the only one. There are other places out there that work very hard on great customer service.
Right.
But, if I'm working on a car, prepping for a race, and I place an order, I know that it's going to get here quickly, and it's not something I have to wait on, because I'm not that far from you. It usually comes in like 2 days, right?
But that is one thing though I would like to, if I can, like to just do a little deeper dive on. So I mentioned, that Bob, does an incredible job turning around these orders. Generally they go out, either the same day if you order real early, or the next morning kind of thing, right? But occasionally we'll get a call from a customer, or an email or something that's very, very upset. That hey, I ordered 3-day UPS 3-day select, or I ordered priority mail. So there's a couple of things here. We have a little link at the top of our website, but middle-aged men have a tendency not to read things. Let's say sometimes some of them. So there's the post office is a good example. They have these cute little ads on TV, and little jingles on the radio and stuff about priority mail, 2 to 3 days to most locations. But what they don't tell you is that's not a guaranteed service. If you go out to the website, it actually very clearly says this is not a guaranteed service. It's strictly a delivery estimate based on where you're shipping to. And now all of our customers realize that, hey, I paid for priority mail. Yes, you did, right? And I didn't get it. I didn't get it, and it's been 4 days. And why don't you have the Postmaster General on this? Let's go, right? That's probably the most frustrating thing, is when we turn these packages over. We do our job, right? What we can control. We process your order. We turn it over to the carrier. Once we turn it over to the carrier, we have no control over how they prioritize it, how they route it, where they route it. We have packages that we ship to Atlanta, Georgia, and they end up in Santiago, Chile. We can't take credit for that, right?
Yeah.
Now, when it happens, we'll certainly try to escalate it, to contact the post office on the behalf of the customer, to contact UPS and see if we can, get it routed or get it moving along or something. But the reality is, it's like a big lottery, and it's getting worse. Not, whether that's one thing that we've seen over the 20 years. When we used to mail stuff with the post office, it almost always got there, and it almost always got there very, very quickly. And if you contrast that with today, it's much, much different. It's almost like it's a lottery. Sometimes, like you said, Marty, you'll have your package in 2 days, and then you might order something, and it might take 2 weeks. Same shipping service, same carrier. There's just no rhyme or reason to it. So it can be frustrating, obviously, from our customers' perspective, because they want their car, they want their parts, right? They paid for that priority mail, service, but it's frustrating on our part because once we hand it over to the post office, we're kind of at their mercy, and just kind of keeping our fingers crossed. Are they going to come through and deliver it like they should and they normally do, or is this going to become it's going to be 2 weeks before our customer sees it? So, and most of our customers, I should say, are very understanding,
right?
Particularly, call up and have a little conversation with them, type thing. But some, quite frankly, we lose business, and I think we're not alone. I'm sure other vendors, same thing. There's like our retailers that rely on these shippers, to deliver the goods, and some people just, hey, it's your responsibility to make sure that UPS or USPS delivers this thing, when they say they're going to. And it's like, maybe that's a little unrealistic. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on shipping, but that's my public service announcement for tonight.
Yeah, no, that's a great explanation. I'm glad you dove into that, because I go back to the proxy race last year. I sent my car and Dusty's car off to Harry Wise for the proxy race about 12, 13 days before the race. And it showed up 2 weeks after the race. And it was holiday time. Like, I get it. It was a tough time for the post office, and they were going through some changes here in our area. They had just brought up Indianapolis as a hub, and a lot of packages go through Indianapolis. And things were getting trapped there, and then they would go to Kansas City, and they would get trapped in Kansas City. And so, yeah, it's not a guarantee. It's probably worth maybe shipping, UPS or FedEx, or, paying for additional if that becomes something very important to you. But,
yeah, I would say all of the carriers have problems. All of the carriers, if you ship enough, you're going to experience delays or exceptions. But I will say that for every problem, shipping related problem that we have, let's say with UPS, we probably have 25 problems with the post office ground advantage, which is the old first class.
Right.
And we get why people use it. I mean, it's the lowest cost way to ship it, but it's also it's truly like a lottery. You just kind of hold your breath and hope that it's going to get there in a reasonable amount of time. So so hopefully maybe we'll see some improvements with the carriers. I certainly hope so. But in the meantime, when the exceptions do occur, like I said, we try to work with our customers to track it down for them. And if we have to file an insurance claim, we'll file the insurance claim, that sort of thing. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes that's what happens. I for Christmas a couple years ago, it's been 10 years ago, I bought longboards for my kids for Christmas, and from a place in California. And as they were shipping them across the country, the truck was in a wreck in Kansas, and I guess it was a fire. Like, everything was damaged, and they never made it. And I had to go through filing a claim on it, and through FedEx. It was coming FedEx, and that wasn't fun going through that. But it, the insurance worked out, And so like sometimes that is important. If it's got some value to it, you probably do want to have the shipping with insurance. So
yeah, absolutely. And again, I know I'm not alone. That's just, I'm not sure that everybody realizes that or not, this or not, but a lot of the slot car retailers that you probably do business with, um, we're not like mortal enemies. There's a lot of cooperation that goes on behind the scenes that you may not even be aware of. So for example, if we need a part, we don't have it, we might reach out to another slot car retailer to see if they have it and drop ship it for us. And obviously we reciprocate when they need something. We try to work with them. But most of us, if you're in this business for any length of time, at some point you're going to start importing products from overseas. From the various suppliers, and we have supply chains and around the world, and some of the things that we have to deal with, it's just unbelievable. Just bringing stuff into the country. I'll give you a couple of examples. So we're bringing 132nd slot cars in, probably from Slotted. I don't remember exactly which vendor it was, and it gets held up in U.S. Customs. So we reach out to, I think it was UPS on this particular shipment, and said, what additional information do you need, or what additional information does Customs? Well, you need this form from the National Highway Traffic Safety Board. And we're like, the National Highway Traffic Safety Board? What the heck does that have to do with slot cars, right? So, yep, you got to fill out this form. So they give us the name of the form and a link and stuff when we go out and we look at it. And it's an airbag certification. So they were holding up importing our cars into the United States because they were waiting for us to provide an airbag certification for a slot car, right? So we called them back up. And I mean, this, when you look at the shipment, the total shipment weight, let's say, is 20 kilograms, about 45 pounds, right? All somebody have to do is just look at the damn shipment, the weight. And it's not a one-to-one car if it weighs 45 pounds. I mean, that's the first thing, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, you call them back up and you say, go through the whole thing. And it's like, you do realize that these are scale model cars that are about 6 inches long and weigh about 10 ounces. And there's this awkward pause on the other end of the line. And then they come back, we'll take care of it right away, Mr. Sawtelle. And then it just right through customs, right? And you think, okay, it can't get any worse than that. So sure enough, another shipment, some little time later, same sort of thing. It's hung up in customs again. Okay. And most of the time when it gets hung up, they're looking for what they call a TSCA, the Toxic Substance Control Act documentation, right? They want to make sure that there's no chemicals or toxic substances in the shipment, right? So you just fill out a form, put your fingerprint and retina scan on it, and away it goes.
Yeah.
But anyway, this one gets kicked again. We call up, same drill. Okay, what information do you need? And they said, well, the Food and Drug Administration needs this form. And we're like, the Food and Drug, what the heck? Now where are we going with this, right? So we do a little deeper dive. What happens is when they bring in these, you have a commercial invoice that accompanies your shipment on an import, and they scan the commercial invoice and they look for keywords. And one of the keywords some of the keywords that they're looking for are crown and teeth, right? So a crown gear, 27 teeth, right?
Oh gosh.
Right. So this raises a flag. Oh, you're importing dental,
right?
Dentistry type stuff, right? So you need the Food and Drug Administration needs to be involved. So the same sort of thing, right? You call them up. It's like, this is a toy car. It's a little gear. It has teeth, and it's called a crown gear.
That's funny.
That one's a little tougher than the airbag with a 6-inch car. They don't,
right.
They might get the teeth on a gear, but they don't necessarily get the crown designation, right? So anyway, we got through that. But I mean, someday I'm going to write a book. I mean, you've probably all heard my story about going over the Canadian border with the toilet seat and stuff, importing and stuff. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. If you want some excitement in your life, become a slot car retailer. There's just no end, to this stuff. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. George just commented the toilet seat story.
Things we go through so that you can have your slot cars, Marty.
That's the things you go through. That's
Yeah,
right.
we have a good time. Yeah, we have a good time.
So now this is your 20th year, Slot Car
20 years.
Corner.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. You've seen a lot in the hobby over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Um, what are some things you're excited about now in the hobby?
Uh, it's funny you ask because I jotted down some ideas, believe it or not, before or actually some thoughts on that in case it did come up. So I'm
Yeah.
just going to reference that if you don't
All right.
mind.
Yeah, sure.
So at the in the top of my list, I have AMSCO. Right. So I think most everybody on the stream is probably aware. Marty's certainly aware of this. We're going to be streaming from that, right? AMSCO. I think this is something that's long overdue. I think this is something that is, Greg Kessler and Steve Holtzman and everybody else that's involved with this, getting AMSCO off the ground. I think, this is, just going to grow. And I think it's good for the hobby, having common sets of rules and organized events, similar to what they do in Europe, type thing. So really, really excited about that. And I think anybody that's in the hobby, that either enjoys racing or enjoys, watching these organized races and stuff, because now we have the benefit of the streams like we did at the NSR National. So I think,
Right.
AMSCO is going to have a big impact on our hobby, over the as we move forward. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I think that you're already seeing as having a significant impact on the slot car racing is 3D printing. And you just have to look at George and Dave and Harry with 3A3D and what they've done. And um, Harry, when he recently did the Scotty Awards,
Right.
right, and he came up with a list of 8 or 10 cars or something. Noticeably absent from there were any of the 3A3D products. Now I get that. I mean, it'd be very awkward for Harry to nominate,
Sure.
a
Yeah.
3A3D product because he's part of 3A3D. But the reality is, if you look at where those guys were 18 months ago, right, and if you look at what they're doing now, and it's just amazing how far they've come, and 3D printing has come in 18 months. Now they have kits with chassis and bodies and interiors and windshields, and we can build it out with all these quality parts and stuff. And these are cars that mainstream manufacturers would probably never make ever, just because of the economies of scale. They just can't justify that investment in making a run of 50 or 100 cars, right? Whereas what
Right.
these guys are doing, right, is they can scale down, to do those cars that nobody else that can do. And so I think we're just going to see more and more of that, not just from 3A, 3D. Marty, you just got a 3D printer. Slot Car Corner has used 3D printers for quite some time, type thing. If Matt at CG Slot Cars has got some real high end industrial type 3D printers, I just think you're going to see more and more 3D printing going forward, and the quality of the printers is getting better, the resolution, the price points, all that sort of things. There's more and more files being shared, so I think 3D printing has a very bright future when it comes to slot cars. So
Yeah, I agree. When I talked my last live stream of the year, I pointed out some of the cars. I wasn't going to pick a slot car of the year because that's Harry's deal. I didn't want to step on any toes, but I did mention like some of my favorite cars for 2025, and and what I thought was like maybe the most important car that was released, and my choice was the late model 3A3D model because I've put thousands of laps on that car, sent it off to the proxy race, and that was a lot of fun to watch that happen. But it was the whole like building that car was for me was like start to finish was a picture of the entire hobby as a whole. It was a built the car, so there was some scratch building piece to it, but it was a kit that you had to decorate it, you had to do the modeling side of it, and then in the end, um, it ran similar to a lot of the cars that I would have just bought off the shelf. And so I was
mhm.
impressed with its performance. I was impressed with the quality of the kit, and I just thought that this is kind of the future. Cars that, like you said, would never have been made. We're seeing those. Guys are throwing out, "Hey, what about this car?" And if there's enough interest, then it makes sense for those guys to try to maybe come up with a model kit for that. And yeah, I just think you're right. There's the sky is the limit. I don't think we've even scratched the surface of what the impact 3D printing will have on the hobby.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And for anybody who might be on the stream, that hasn't put their toe in the 3D printing, or if you're on the fence, I would suggest jump in. Um, yeah, it's the printers are much better than they were even a couple, 2, 3 years ago. You have the self-leveling beds, better software, better filaments and stuff. And again, you have a lot more models and stuff that are available, that you can print, design, with minimal effort. You can start designing your own 3D prints, the different things. So, like for example, at the upcoming AMSCO race, I think they posted this, but we're going to 3D print controller hookup panels, where we've got some custom panels going and stuff, and it's just amazing what you can do. And if I think if you ask George and Dave and Harry from 3A3D, again, if you wind back the clock about 18 months when they first got going and said, "Hey, look, guys, in about a year, you guys are going to have an HRW proxy that's just your cars,"
Yeah.
right? They'd say, there's no way. That'll never happen. It certainly won't happen, in the next 12 to 18 months. And yet, here we are.
Here we are.
It's become a reality. So, and to their credit, they, there's a lot of us that have great ideas, but they're just ideas, right? And George and Dave and Harry, they took it from the idea stage to actually becoming a tangible product, right? Something that they could share, people could purchase, and they could build their own cars and so on. So again, if you're thinking about maybe getting your first 3D printer and stuff like that, strongly suggest go ahead, make that leap. There's a lot of resources, both slot car related and non-slot car related, that are out there. There are tons of videos and all sorts of support resources. So I think it's great. And again, I just think the future of 3A, 3D, and slot car racing is bright, and that's one of the reasons why, because of the 3D printing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's fantastic.
It is. And the first time you print something and you take it off that build plate, and it's like, holy cow, right? And then and then you're off on this wonderful journey. So
Yeah.
I think 3D printing, it's a thing. It's here to stay.
Yeah, my moment, the first thing I printed was pretty cool, and I'm like, this is really cool. The moment that it really clicked for me was Steve Holzman got the +1 controller, and +1 released a 2-finger trigger for it, and he's like, "Hey, will you download this file and print this 2-finger trigger for me?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And so I printed that part, and then I sent it to him, and he's like, "Man, this just isn't. It's too small. It's still too small. Can you make it longer, more like the DeFalco's 2-finger trigger?" And so I'm like, I'll try to figure that out. And so Shotgun Dave helped me, and we extended it. I printed it again and sent it to him, and he's like, "Oh, it hits the wrong. I didn't have the controller with me, so the stop was not in the right place." So
Yep.
then I'm like, okay. So I redesigned it, and I figured out where it needed to be and how to lengthen it, and I printed it, and I'm sitting there printing that, and it was the whole process. I basically remanufactured a part. I redesigned it. Dave and I made changes to it. And when I sent him the third one and it worked, he's like, "It's perfect." Like there was a satisfaction that hit me at that moment. It was like, I just manufactured a part in my basement. I redesigned it and made it better. And that is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just it's only going to get better. That's the other thing is I can't wait to see in the next couple of years, 5 years from now, what kind of printers we have available to us. And um, like I said, the filaments keep getting better. And like for slot cars, like a body or something
Yeah.
like that, Dave and Harry and George can attest. They've I don't know how many different types of resin they've checked. They've tried and stuff.
Right.
To kind of and they're always looking for even something even better. But they're at the point where they have a pretty good handle on what works, what doesn't work, for those bodies and stuff, and for chassis and for other parts. And again, they're continuing to refine that, and I'm very excited. I can't wait to see what those guys do, in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is, some of the mainstream manufacturers like Slide comes to mind, Scalotto comes to mind. They're currently offering 3D products in their catalogs, right?
Yeah.
So that clearly, they're embracing the 3D printing as well, and I think you'll see more manufacturers doing that. And Dave Kennedy, if he's on tonight, we've talked about this where some of the sets, where they used to include, like some little figures and a goat and an announcer and a tower. Well, they don't do that anymore, right? Because they're trying to, their bottom line
Right.
and keep their costs to a minimum. Well, these manufacturers could provide some 3D prints along with a set. You could have like a little QR code or something. You scan, you download, the little barrier and the goat and the spectator and the announcer, right? You can 3D print all that stuff, right? So just kind of a value add, to that particular set, just as an example, right? Yeah, so
Right.
there's all sorts of things. So maybe, Murray, in a year, it might be interesting if we come back and just revisit,
Yeah.
kind of where 3D printing is 12 months from now compared to, where it is today.
Yeah. The advancement that the machines are making each update cycle. So, when they bring out the second version of something or the third version of something or the new version of something, the advancement from one model to the next right now is like light years each one. It's impressive. And then the software is getting easier to use. And then you think of like the Maker's Mart or Maker's website that Bamboo has, how easy they've made it for their printers to print something from that.
Yep.
Like you download a file specifically made for your printer off of that website. If you're a Bamboo user, I think, and all of the other companies are trying to follow suit on that, right? I know that in beta, Elegoo's website is in beta right now, and there are some things you can download off of it, and I think all of them are trying to catch up there. But yeah, the advancement is pretty amazing.
Yeah,
What
it
else?
is. And they're doing a much better job. You used to have to, you're kind of like a little rocket scientist slash chemist, where you'd have to kind of figure out the optimum temperature for the bed plate and for the, the nozzle and the extruder and so on for a given type of filament. Well, now they have a database of, like you mentioned, bamboo. Bamboo, if you're using a bamboo filament, you put it in there, it has a little barcode. It goes into the AMS, it reads the barcode and says, okay, that's PETG or PLA or whatever the filament type happens to be. It knows, okay, this is the temperature, this is what size nozzle you're using. It's
Right.
just, it's great. It's
Yeah.
automatic, So,
Yeah. There's been a lot of automation for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else is on your list?
So some other things are on the list. I think Two Lines is going to continue to be very influential, and I don't just say that as a sponsor. I just think, Marty, you do a great job with this stream. And you look at your viewers and stuff like that. I think everybody really enjoys spending an hour and a half every Tuesday just catching up.
Yeah. Thanks.
So I'm excited about that. The other thing, I can't get into a lot of detail tonight, but I promise that in the very near future I kind of make an announcement about a new company, which is going to be a joint venture between Slot Car Corner and another company, and it's kind of it's nothing earth shattering, but it's just something that we're gonna work on together moving forward. I can tell you that it involves a Swiss lathe, and I can tell you that it involves some 3D printing.
Nice.
So, and you might even be able to figure out who the other company is. But we'll make an announcement, and maybe we can even get that individual to join us,
Yeah, that would be
and
awesome.
we can kind of discuss, some of the things that we've got up our sleeves. Um, so
And do
yeah,
you hope that that happens in 2026?
I think it's going to happen. If it doesn't happen in January, it'll definitely happen in February of 2026.
Awesome. That's fantastic news. Well, we'll be excited to hear
Yeah,
the
so this is
news.
something that's been in the works, for a while, and we'll formalize it, and we'll bring this new brand topside, and we can discuss just what that brand is all about and what kind of products, short term and longer term, that we plan to bring to the market. So
Yeah,
we're excited about that. Very
that's
excited about
cool.
that. Yeah, and then I think again, we're going to see lots of new releases in 2026 from the manufacturers. Um, which is always good. We probably have, if you compare the choices that we have now in terms of cars and parts and everything else to when we started this business 20 years ago, it's amazing. Um, you know the quality of the cars, and when you start getting into like the slotted NSR, the type of thing, the enthusiast kind of cars, um, there some of them are really starting to push the envelope and refine their designs, so that the cars are even better, faster, more competitive than they were in the past. So, I think the future is bright. The one thing I will say, and this kind of gets back to AMSCO, one of AMSCO's goals is to get younger racers involved in the hobby, and I think that's very, very important, right? Because a lot of us are kind of middle aged. Type thing, kind of
Yeah,
similar to what I described, where you get back into the hobby after your family grows up and moves out or something, and we need to get like at the NSR Eastern Nationals there a couple months ago. We had a handful of young racers, and it was great to see them there, right? But we need more of that,
we need
right?
more.
We need
Yeah,
more of those young racers. So hopefully we can, and through like the efforts of AMSCO, hopefully we can increase the participation of those younger racers, get them involved, and yeah, they're going to discover girls and cars and all that stuff, but hopefully they come back to the hobby at some point as well.
right. Yeah, I think introducing them, part of AMSCO that I've heard Greg and Steve talk about over and over again is outreach. That one of its core principles is about outreach. How do we do outreach better? How do we get more people, kids involved? How do we make it easy for people to participate? And like a big thing for this race coming up, I think, is having the two classes, the GT3 and the GT4.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
because I think we'll find that a lot of guys that could be running GT3 will run GT4 just because they want to take the pressure off of themselves, right?
Mm.
Is part of it. But I think having that second class that, even though we'll all be racing together, which makes it like an IMSA event, right? When you got multiple classes on the track at the same time,
Yep.
that's going to be fun. It's going to be based on your qualifying times. But I think the fact that the event will have two winners, the event will have, 6 people on the podium for each class. I think it just allows more people to enjoy the success of the event. And, if I don't have a ton of time to get a car fully tuned for the GT3, I just meet the rules for the GT4 and I can still go have fun and be competitive in my own class. I just think it's a big, I know it's not a big thing, but I think that there's a lot of people who sit on the fence whether they want to go to an event like that or not.
Yes.
And this might get them to jump over the fence. And I'm
Yeah.
excited about that.
Yeah, I am too, and you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people, even at the NSR event, we had several participants. This was their first organized event. They had a blast. They're
Oh yeah.
like, you're talking to them and stuff, and I was always apprehensive. I really didn't know what to expect. I felt a little intimidated. All the usual comments and stuff. And I was like, man, I came out here. These are great people. I met a lot of people. I learned a lot. I had a lot of fun racing. I'm going to be back, and
Right.
that's when you're successful. It's you don't have to finish on the podium. You might finish down on the order someplace or someplace in between, but did you have a good time? And if you had a good time, and you enjoyed the event and you enjoyed the people at the event, the way the event was organized, then you're going to come back. You're going to want to do it again. But if you're sitting on the fence, again, it's kind of like you guys with the 3D printing, right? Same thing. You don't want to be 85 or 90 years old reflecting on your life and saying, damn it, I should have went to that AMSCO race in May, and I
That's
should have
right.
competed in the GT4 class. Should have
Yeah,
followed Martin and Steve's advice, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Daryl wants to know, what is a podium? I don't know what podiums are either, Daryl. So you're in good company.
yeah, you should absolutely join us at the AMSCO race.
That's
You'll
right.
have a great time. You'll have a great time.
Yeah, Mark says he's got an NSX that he could use for GT4. Just needs to change the motor, the pinion, the back wheels. That's an easy change,
It
and then you
is.
can always
And
change it back. So
right, and the way that the AMSCO rules, they did these rules for the AMSCO race. They did a really nice job, because not only they just have like a bunch of text rules, right, but they actually have pictures and part numbers.
yeah,
So and they have it organized into 15 different sections. But for each section you go through, and it's not just, well, thou shalt use scale auto wheels. Well, here's the scale auto wheels that you can use. Here's the part numbers, and they actually show pictures and stuff, right? And um, so they've really gone out of the way to to make it easy to build those cars. But to your point, Marty, GT4, I mean, it's not quite a box stock car, but it's pretty darn close. I mean, you don't
yeah,
have to change the tires and maybe one or two other parts, and hey, put your car on the track and have a good time. Go racing.
yeah. You don't
And
have a huge investment either. You know,
no,
that's
in the car, the parts or time, right?
right.
So if you have limited resources, limited cycles, to prepare for the event, participate in the GT4 class and have some fun. So it's going to be
Yeah,
quite an event.
and the other thing about that event, and it, just like the Eastern Nationals, just like the Western Championships, um, there are people that will help you.
Yes.
One of the things that I jumped on Areras Carrera's Joe's live stream a few weeks after the event on a Saturday morning, and Joe and Raul and a handful of other guys were on it. And Raul made the point. He said, we went to that event and had a blast. It was a long day, but we had so much fun. But the biggest thing that he loved about it, he mentioned, people were coming up and saying, hey, here's some tips on how to get your car even better. Like, this track, this is what you should try. This, and I know my brother Dusty tried to help him out a little bit and said, okay, let's make these adjustments on your car to try to get them better. And he's like, he wasn't expecting that. And I'm like, that happens at most events.
Yeah.
That happens at most clubs. You walk in and you don't know a lot. There are always going to be people. If you ask a question, 99% of the people out there are going to attempt to help you. And
Well,
and that's the other thing. And I know that this event, Greg and Steve are planning to do tuning videos to help people understand the difference between the two classes. I think those are important. They really want that, like, it's that grassroots, that outreach from all aspects. New people, even seasoned people, they want to help them be well informed and come and have a great time.
Yeah, close racing is fun racing.
Yeah.
Right. So, the more competitive, the more you can level the playing field there, so that you have that close competitive racing, the better,
Yeah.
people enjoy that. Yep.
Yeah. And Chris makes a good point in his, I'm looking forward to going just to meet the people.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, is like, you are in the community, like really in the community at an event like that. You get a chance to meet a bunch of people that maybe you've only talked to online, maybe you've never met before. Just like you said, Steve, if we didn't both go to that race 2 years ago, our paths probably never cross.
They,
And
they, they wouldn't. They're not, like I said, not in 10,000 lifetimes, right? And that's,
right.
again, I mentioned it before. One of the most rewarding things. Like, if you go to this event, it's not whether you finish on the podium. You might finish dead last, someplace in the middle. It's just that you participated, And it's not so much, hey, it's a participation trophy kind of thing, but it's just there's so much more to the event. Obviously, there's racing. Yes, they count the laps, they time the laps and stuff like that. But these friendships, like I'll use an example, the Michigan 24. I've been going to that event. Slot Car Corner's been going to that event since it first started back in 2010 or 2011. Have met many people, many racers at that event, and they're not just competitors. We're competitors on the track, but the friendships that develop in these events. When you go to these events and you meet people and stuff, many of those friendships are like lifelong friendships, right? And how do you put a value on that? Right.
Right.
You really can't, right?
No,
I
you
mean,
don't.
that's something that's easy to forget, but it really is. It's a community, and like you said, Marty, people, generally want to help, other racers that if they need help, if they have a question, that sort of thing. So, yeah. So hopefully we'll have a good turnout. There's a lot of, maybe some of the two lines community here. It's kind of on the fence. Hopefully we can push you off that fence, and love to have you come to the event. I'd love to have you race. I'd love to meet you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be great. So, what about questions? Do we have any other? I don't have my YouTube stream up, Marty, because I think that's where the feedback might have been coming from.
You're right. I think I'm actually dealing with a little the mix minus on the board. It is bleeding the USB back into the stream, so I pulled that fader down and turned you on the speakers here, and I think that took care of most of it. So I think we're in good shape. But I'll see if I can't go back and repair any of it if it's bad. But most of the questions we've kind of already hit. There's just a lot of comment about 3D printing in the comments. Lots of people talking about great experience with the Slot Car Corner. Let me see if I thought there was. Let me do it real quick. Q. Make sure I didn't miss any. Jerry says, "Tell Steve we love your unibraid." That was good.
Oh, by the way, I'm glad you mentioned that. 2026 will see the introduction of some additional two lines slot racing products. Absolutely.
That's good to know.
They're in the works.
They're in the works.
A word of caution, Marty. You should fear some of these products.
That was one of the best pranks anybody's played on me in a long time. I have to tell you, I appreciated it. That was a lot of fun.
We had a good time with it, and like I said, we are. No, not kidding. I mean, I'm dead serious. The Slot Car Corner minions are hard at work. With developing some new two lines products. So we'll definitely, as those come to into being, we'll definitely get those on the stream so that other people can enjoy them too.
Yeah. Let's see. 35 Salty says, "I bought a few sets of tires a few weeks ago and I forgot what car they were intended for it. Is there a way to look up a tire number and see which cars they fit?" Well, you have a tire guide right on your website.
Yeah, we do. I mean, if you know it, there's not. If you have the part number for the tire, right? We can kind of do a reverse lookup. We don't have that. We don't have that capability online. We go the other way, right? Where if you have a particular brand and a model, here's the tire or tires that might fit, but we don't currently have it where you can plug in the tire and it says, okay, here's all the possible applications for that tire.
Gotcha.
But we can kind of sort of do that if you reach out to us, on a case by case basis. We can do that. We can also look up your order, and if it, we might
stir up their memory.
Into what the car was for.
Yeah. I mean, your website does that too, right? I can see previous orders.
You should be able to see your previous orders. You should be able to see your order history. Yes. Yep.
Jerry asks, will Predator be coming out with a 25K slim can motor?
I think we will. I think you will see that, but that's not the next Predator that you're going to see. So in 2026, you're going to see some new Predator offerings. And if we do the 25K, or I should say when we do the 25K slim line, it'll probably be later in 2026 when we do that. So we've got some other motors that we're planning to introduce before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's cool.
we are currently working on some, growing and expanding the Predator line. Yep.
Nice.
So, yep.
I am a big fan of the Jolly Rancher, the ball bearing 21.5 motor Predator. That's
Yeah.
a
It's
fantastic motor.
the Jolly Rancher motors, they've been incredibly popular, type thing. So the bad news is we can no longer get that end bell
Oh yeah.
and that bright green. So unfortunately, it'll still be green. It's just that it won't be quite Jolly Rancher,
Okay.
Jolly Rancher green. Yeah.
Hey,
So
as long as the performance is still there, I can live with that.
I mean, the rest of it, the ball bearings and the arm and stuff the magnets, those will all be the same, but it'll be a slightly different arm. I'm sorry,
Steve,
a slightly different, uh, end bell to it.
yeah. Steve Sweeney just wanted me to mention that there are some hotel discounts for anybody coming to the AMSCO. Those will be published on the AMSCO website. I think maybe Josh has already got them out there. But I guess Host Slot Car Racers have a race and discount package put together too. That's cool. Thanks, Steve, for putting that out there. Daryl says, is the Unibraid ordered right and left side, or is it universal?
It's universal.
It's universal, Daryl.
It's universal. Yeah.
Do you
Absolutely.
have any new products coming out that you can tell us about? Are they all surprises?
Well, I wouldn't say surprises, but we're just waiting until they're a little closer to wraps. We've got some. I can't say too much because
No, it's all right. Once you put
yeah,
it out there,
yes,
then people will start calling you every day
right,
until they get
exactly.
released.
I'll,
So
I'll,
no,
I'll have people outside
that's
outside my door and stuff, right?
that's fair.
Um, we're close. Once we make this announcement that I mentioned, with this new company or this new brand, type thing, then I'll be able to discuss. We will be able to discuss, a lot more
Yeah,
products, that
cool.
will be coming down the pipeline on that. Yeah. Yep.
Now I do know one new product that you have coming out because I got a box today
Oh, there you go.
in the mail. So let
Yeah.
me grab it.
Yeah. Go right ahead. I think I know what this is.
The Slot Car Corner hat in both red and yellow. So these are great, Steve. Let me see which one. I think I sized one for me. I should have
There
been
you
wearing
go.
it the whole time, but I wanted to surprise everybody. But the cool thing about this is we're giving one of these away tonight.
Well, I think we should give two away. We'll give a
Two away,
yellow one
okay,
away, and we'll give one of the
okay.
red and yellow ones away. So why don't we give two away?
So the requirement to do that is to put hat in the comment, and then we will pick somebody that wants a hat, and we'll have the red and the yellow available. But then you'll be able to get these on your website, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's actually on the slideshow. When you go to the home page, you'll see that there's a slide. I think it's the first slide right now. Just click
Yeah.
on that, and it'll take you right to the page. This was one of our 2026. It'd been some time since we had the hats.
Yeah.
They were popular, and we ran out, and it was just always one of those things. We wanted to do a little redesign on the logo. Type thing, but we just could never find the cycles to quite do that. So we finally, over the Christmas break, we were able to do that, and we got some hats. So hopefully we'll have some other bling, some T-shirts, and some other things here.
Some other swag, merch.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so merch.
Yeah, I like it.
Some more merch.
Rob, if you're out there, you'll be happy. This is not a flat bill. This is a curved bill.
Yeah.
Rob gives me and Steve a hard time for wearing hats that have a flat bill. This is not that. This is a good looking hat, though. I like it.
Yeah, Steve kids me that someday he's going to get me in a flat bill. So we'll see. Yeah. He's always giving me some crap about that. So
that's funny. That's good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's been, I'm excited that about our partnership, and what there's some things that you and I are doing that we can't really talk about yet, um, when it comes to the live stream, that I'm super super excited about.
Mhm.
And you and I, every time we talk about how do we level up. Um, and you would ask me what my goals were for my channel, what I was hoping for in 2026, and together we've kind of put a goal out there, and that's pretty lofty, but we're doing some things behind the scenes to hopefully to get there. And I'm appreciative of your partnership. I'm excited about you being a channel partner, um, and what you're going to bring to the table, and what that bringing to the table is going to be is you're going to share some info on new products on Tuesday nights. Every so often, you're going to come in and visit us and tell us what's going on in the shop. You're going to like kind of help us like read the tea leaves, right? What we think is going to happen in the hobby, and some things coming down the road. And I'm super excited about kind of doing that segment with you, moving forward. So
Yeah, yeah,
we got some great plans.
yeah. The same here. And what you don't see when you tune into the stream here is you see that there's a microphone. Marty's got a microphone in front of him. I got a headset on. But what we can share, we can share some of the stuff that we're doing here.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we're doing in preparation for the AMSCO event is not just for the stream, but in general. One of the things that everybody that's involved with organizing this event is thinking about is not just, for example, doing the stream, right? But what happens if Marty loses his board, his primary board? Right? Does that mean that we're dead in the water? We don't have a stream, for the event while we're scrambling around, trying to find the board.
Right.
So we're working, like other members of the team for this event are working to have some redundancy. So prior to this stream, or about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, when we started talking about, hey, what do you need what am I going to need, to join the stream? It could have just been simple, and I could have just had my microphone on my Mac and a camera, and I'm in here. But no, in typical Steve fashion, I had to over-engineer it, and with Marty's help, I am very, very proud to let everybody know that I plugged in an XLR connector. I plugged in a phono jack and three, not one, not two, but three USB-C cables. So I've got like 5 miles of cable on my dining room table here that you can't see. Thanks to you, Marty. Thank you. But all kidding aside, I'm like this little kid, and he's got all these buttons over here, and it's like, man, I want to push that button so bad, but I won't.
Yeah. And I think we've done some testing with the board, because we did an upgrade to the soundboard, and you've got the exact same thing I have.
Right.
And so I think tonight we were kind of working out some of the gremlins a little bit with new equipment. Sometimes some things happen in the background you don't realize that's happening, that don't show up in some of the testing. So we were testing the stream, but we didn't go officially live to YouTube, and maybe that would have exposed some of the feedback issues the guys were hearing. They were hearing some mic doubling, but sounds like we got it fixed. Yeah, I think that like one of the things that you've brought to the table for me, is having contingency plans when it comes to like how important these live streams have become for events, because it just opens up a whole new world, for the Eastern Championships and this AMSCO and all the other places that have done live streaming. I think that it has a big impact on the reach of the event, and we're seeing that with like this past year was the largest event they'd ever had. A lot of racers showed up for it, and some of it was because of the live stream the previous year. And even though that live stream was struggling because of the bandwidth, it still got the word out about that event. And so I think that these are important marketing tools for events to have some success. And I'm starting to get other tracks and other people reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, what about my event that I host? Can you give me some pointers on how to live stream, or would you be interested in coming and doing a live stream?" And so some of those doors are opening. I never even thought about. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and but
I mean, who knows
becoming a
what
resource for people is important to me, and so I love answering questions. I love helping people. So if you're out there and you have an event and you're wanting to figure out how to live stream, send me a message and we can talk about what it takes.
yeah, I can share my expertise plugging in cables. So I'm
That's right.
I'm available.
That's right.
So, yeah. No, but seriously, this is something I've tuned into streams obviously and stuff, but it's just like a whole another. I'm a lifelong learner. I like to learn new things, and this is something. It's like, oh boy. Uh, so this has been great. I appreciate your taking me under your wing and just showing me some of the basics. Marty, I appreciate it. So I'm
Yeah,
looking
man.
forward to learning
It's
more about
it's
this. So
it,
yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah, and like I
Um,
said, little teaser, so we've got some things in the works.
yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Slot Car Corner is Dum Dum's biggest customer.
that's the truth. So I got a couple of Dum Dum stories if we got time for Dum Dum
Yeah.
stories.
Oh yeah, we have time.
All right. So we had a customer that called up, and longtime customer. He goes, "Hey Steve, I got a favor to ask." I'm like, "What's that?" He goes, when Bob packages my orders, and he puts the Dum Dums in. He says when my wife sees the package from Slot Car Corner, she opens up the package and she gets the Dum Dums. She goes, I don't get any Dum Dums. So he says, I wonder if you could do this. He says, could you put some Dum Dums on the bottom of the box and pack my order, and then put the Dum Dums on the top of the box? My wife will get the Dum Dums on the top of the box, and I still get my Dum Dums on the bottom of the box. So these are these are the types of things you talk about customer service.
That's right.
These are the lengths that we go to satisfy our customers.
Yeah. Then and there's some truth to that because my wife
Uh,
got the Dum Dums that came with the hats
yeah, I know.
before
It's
I came downstairs.
the Dum Dums have kind of, and for the record, this was Dickie Pearson that started the Dum Dums. So this is
Nice.
on you, Dickie, right?
Well done, Dickie.
But they've taken on a life of their own. I mean, it's crazy. If you forget to put the Dum Dums on, I mean, you could literally forget the car, forget all the parts, just send them an empty box with some wrapping paper. And some customers, hey, I'm missing a part or two, but you forget the Dum Dums. Oh my God. It's like we need a congressional hearing. It's like our corner forgot my Dum Dums, right? It's like people, or and then it's the flavors. Hey, can you give me this flavor? That flavor. It's like, oh boy. So anyway, yeah, we go through many thousands of Dum Dums every year.
Every year, no doubt. Yeah. So I work for a bank, and part of my marketing budget goes to Dum Dum suckers for our drive-throughs. So
There you go.
I
Yeah,
know all about it. Every little kid that comes through the drive-through with their parent, they are
yeah,
waiting for the Dum Dum sucker to come out through the drive-through tube.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. No, they like I said, they've taken on a life of their own. They really have. So yeah,
DeFingers
sugar-free.
asked if they're sugar-free Dum Dums. I don't
I
think
don't know.
so.
I don't think it's a Dum Dum if it's sugar free.
That's
I
right.
mean, right? It's
Yeah,
got to have the sugar, man.
that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Steve, it's 9:24. We've got a few more minutes. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that we wanted to hit tonight? I mean, was it-
No, well, I mean, I'm sure there's lots of other things we can talk about in the future, but I think again, I just want to thank you, Marty, for the opportunity to work with you, come on the stream, be part of the Two Lines community,
yeah, I'm
and
excited.
looking forward, to working with you and going forward, collaboration and sponsorship, and I'm sure there's some other things we had talked about where we might even do some videos kind of outside the stream, and
Yeah,
different topics and stuff. I mean, we can do, I can think of a ton of things we can do. A lot of people are involved with, like, for example, track wiring projects. We can do a deep dive or deeper dive,
yeah,
on track wiring, on driver stations, anything that people might want to do. Um, you know, the sky's the limit. So,
yeah. I agree. I think. I mean, track building. Every time I do, like, I change my track up and I post that video. Those videos always get tons of questions
mhm.
and tons of views. Um, And it's because I think guys are always curious about what it takes to take their starter set track to the next level. And so, adjustable power supplies, there's always a question about that. How do I wire that into my track? How do I set up driver stations? And you guys have a lot of great resources on your website already for stuff like that.
Right. We actually do. And if I can figure out how to do this, I'm going to try this. We'll see if it works or not. And you guys can tell me if I've got
Yeah. Let me
if you can
solo
see my
you.
screen.
Yep, we got your screen.
You got your screen. So
Yeah.
for those of you, you might spend most of your time here over on the left-hand menu looking for cars or parts or something like that. But along the top, we have a menu. And under resources, we have a lot of resources here that a lot of our customers aren't even aware of. So we have information about tires, scratch building, a lot of the 3A, 3D stuff, some track wiring, and we're in the process of revamping that, our driver stations, building a routed track. And for those of you know Butch Dunaway, Butch passed away recently. There's a very, very detailed that was posted on Home Racing World. We also have it on our website, step by step how Butch built that track. We have some TrackMate wiring diagrams. We get a lot of questions about that. Information about our CB design wheels. Some general how-to information. There's a very detailed tuning checklist if anybody's interested in that. Type thing. So there's a lot of resources out there that people aren't necessarily aware of. So if you have some spare time, you might want to just kind of kick the tires and look around a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I know I've relied on your track wiring diagrams. I go back to every time. I've done it enough now that I pretty much have it all memorized, but it definitely makes the process really, really easy. So let's give away a couple hats before we close out the show. So let me do a little copy paste here out of the chat and see if we can pick a couple guys randomly here. All right, here's our first winner. It'll pick the comment, and it's Bradley Aarons. Bradley, you are a winner of one of the Slot Car Corner hats. If you send me an email, I'll put my email address in the comments here, and we'll get that taken care of. So that's one.
And by the way, the banners are going to be available again here in the first half of 2026. So
nice.
That we are working on that as well.
Yeah, I think I've got some banners hanging around my room, and I think guys enjoy decorating their slot car rooms with
Yep.
I think that'll be good. So yeah, you probably won't have them long. Once you post them, they'll probably go pretty quick. Alan says, thanks for the tips. We'll check it out, the resource tab. All right. And then let's pick one more randomly here. And there you go, Jerry. Jerry, you are our second winner. So passing out some Slot Car Corner hat swag. That'll be you guys. Now you can look good and race good. Maybe not race good, but at least you'll feel good while you're racing. Wearing your Slot Car Corner hat.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, congratulations to our two winners.
Yeah. So send me an email so we can make sure that we get you get your prizes out to you. We appreciate it. It was an exciting week. This past weekend, I got a box in the mail from Ian Douglas, and Ian sent me the +1 controller to review, to add to my controller reviews. So I'm pretty excited about that, Steve. But the other thing he gave me to mess around with, and I put a video out about it this weekend. He sent some of his race-winning cars. Here's his Scale Auto, and here's his C8. And then over on the track, I've been messing around with his 908 that he won the Canadian. I don't know if they call them the Canadian Nationals, or I forget what they called it. But it was in Edmonton, I think. And it's I'm going to do some videos on these cars. He told me I could open them up and show guys, and like I think there are already some videos maybe that Ian has done on these cars, but guys always they want to know like what the fast guys are doing. And I in my conversation with Ian, he's like, even though you have a fast car, you still have to be able to drive it, right?
Yeah.
Just because it's fast and it can go fast doesn't mean it will be fast when you drive somebody else's car, but it can teach you a lot about tuning and setup. And so I'm going to go through those. So when we were talking about things that are happening in 2026 from my side of the channel, you know, continue to do this kind of content where, you know, we break down super fast cars, and that's
Yeah, so
exciting.
yeah, if I could comment on that. So first of all, kudos to Ian, for making the cars available. And there's an
Yeah,
example of what we were talking about. We're sharing information. Now, Ian, could have, if, uh, Ian could have just said, "Hey, look, I'm going to just keep all my little secrets to myself," kind of thing. But to his credit, he's made the cars available to Marty, he's given him permission to open them up, take a peek inside.
yeah,
Steve Holzman has been on, talking about tuning tips. Andrea at the NSR
right.
Nationals, right? Same thing, right? So there's just three, very good examples. Top shelf racers, right? Race winning cars, top finishing cars, and here, guys, no secrets. Here's how I
Yeah,
set it up, right?
yeah,
And you'll probably, if you watch these and you study them, you're going to see some similarities between them, but you're going to see some subtle differences too. And again, to Marty's point, the other thing I want to point out, so Ian's comment on the controllers is, we get a lot of requests for controllers. People will call us up and say, "Hey, look, I want a controller with 2 knobs." I was like, "Okay." So we ask them some questions. What kind of cars you're racing? You're racing, in a club. How long you've been racing, that sort of thing. And it's like, well, why do you want those knobs? It's because, well, everybody else in the club has got knobs and they're faster than I am. And it's like, okay, well, but you realize that for a given car, a given track, a given lane, there's probably like an optimum set. If you had a crystal ball and you could go in and say, okay, I want the brake at 6 and the sensitivity should be at 3 for this particular car, right? But
right,
you don't have a crystal ball, so the only way you're going to do that is you got to practice.
right,
And you got to practice and practice and practice. And you got to get to the point where you're practicing that you don't even have to look down at those knobs. If you're looking down at the knobs, you're taking your eyes off the car, you're losing time, right? Or you're going to go off,
that's
you're
right,
going to crash, right? So that's the thing. I think that if you're thinking about an aftermarket controller, right, it's not like an automatic transmission in a car where it's just automatically going to adjust the settings. You have to figure that out. And the way
right,
you figure that out is you practice, practice, practice. Because for that optimum set of where you're actually improving your driving, your consistency, and the performance of the car, there's an infinite number of settings where you're going to go the other direction.
right,
So if you just want knobs as a status symbol, that's one thing, but you're probably not going to see improvement in your racing. So if you're going to make the investment in a controller that has those adjustments, you need to make the investment in time and practice to take advantage of it. So
yeah. I completely agree, and that's why I'm doing these videos, and they're real basic videos. I'm not doing a super deep dive into like like the electronics, and I'm not opening them up, but I'm hopefully I'm bringing across here's what the traction control is doing for me, and as I move it one direction, it's doing this, and as I move it another direction, it's doing this. To try to help guys really understand what each of those knobs do on each of those controllers, so that they can find, some guys run more brake than other guys. Some
yeah,
guys run more sensitivity than other guys. The DeFalco's, that discussion with the networks with Steve Howie and understanding, building a custom network and what that might get you, and, what each network does and how ohms really work. So many guys don't even, I didn't understand like what ohms really did with the controller and how that changes, and impacts the controller and using the controller. So with these, I'm not going to, in the end, after I review 6 or 8 controllers, I'm not going to say this is the best controller and this is what everybody should have, because every guy can make every car go fast with any controller. But there are some advantages to some controllers that if you're a late breaker into a corner, then well, maybe there's some settings on your controller that might help you with that. Be quicker through those turns. Or do you have habits that are hard for you to break? Well, your controller might help correct some of those slightly if and make things easier for you. But they're not a magic bullet. That's one of the kind of the things we've all been saying.
Yep.
It comes back to
Absolutely.
practice. How well do you know it?
Yeah.
Can you make an
It's like,
adjustment without even looking at the controller? Can how comfortable have you gotten?
yeah.
It's for me, it's funny. I'll work with one controller and I'll run maybe 500-600 laps, and then I'll go back to my main controller and I'm even faster with that controller because the other controller taught me something about my driving that I was doing. And so then I make a slight adjustment on my my go-to controller and I'm even quicker. And so I'm learning a lot through this whole process. So I'm excited about getting some more of those videos out, but it's probably going to take me a month or two to get through all of them. So,
Yeah.
and I've been working on it for a while.
Yeah. It's, I mean, controller is important. There's no doubt about it. But,
Yeah,
it's the old saying, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice.
that's true.
Same thing with your controller. How do you get the most out of your controller? You got
Yep.
to practice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. It's got to be an extension of your arm. You're not even thinking about it when you make an adjustment, right? So,
Yeah, I agree. Well, Steve, man, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you. I appreciate
yeah,
the partnership. I'm looking
I don't
forward to
even know what,
2026 and all the great things hopefully we get to do.
yeah, I can't believe, where did this hour and a half go? Hour and 40 minutes go. It's like, holy cow, flew.
I
Yeah.
told you, people
Yeah.
when they come on, they come at the end, they go, how did that go by so fast? So
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to helping out in any way I can.
yeah, it's going
So,
to be fun. So
yeah, it'll be a
yeah,
lot of
thanks
fun.
for joining us tonight, guys. If you have any more questions for Steve, you can continue to put them in the comments. He'll be watching the comments along with me, and we'll get you answers if something we missed tonight. But Steve's going to be a regular here on Tuesday nights. We're going to get him on as often as we can, and hopefully learn some cool things. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. Same here. Very, had a lot of fun. So thank you.
Yep. And like I always say, go have some fun racing. We'll see you guys next week.
Take care, everyone. Be safe.